Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Zyda, and today's talk is, do we need universities anymore? I will share my slides and bring them up and put them on play. And here we go. Do we need universities anymore? Here is my bio. Just put that up for 2 seconds and move on. With the recent pandemic, all of us university professors got scant notice and instruction on how we would move from in-person teaching to fully online. At USC, we were told on a Friday that on Monday, we were all Zooming. And Zoom turned out to be a piece of crap software, as the company was too broke to hire a user interface specialist to make sure that its user interface was comprehensible by mere professors. Those of us teaching game development somehow survived and started questioning whether there was much future for universities, seeing that we could do almost everything online in a virtual space. The purpose of this talk is to kind of review how we teach in person and throw out some straw dogs on what our potential future could be if maintaining our large real estate portfolio, the university land and its buildings, was not the driving force. So this is how we teach now. Professor Live Lecture. Figure 1 is a high-level look at how we now teach with the professor in the classroom in the post-pandemic Zoom forever era. The professor is at the front of the room with the PowerPoint slides and trying to share them on the classroom projector at the same time as he or she is sharing those slides via Zoom to students that have not made it to class for some reason or other. This turns out to be a juggling match for the professor. There are projector technical issues. Does Zoom have the right laptop, desktop feed out to the projector? There is a complicated interface for that, and the defaults aren't the right settings. Why is that? Is the projector bright enough, or do we have to turn off the room lights completely so we cannot see which students are sleeping, nor can we ever learn the names of the ones awake enough? We don't have an in-room AV support person to help us with this. We can call one and they show up in 10 minutes and maybe take 10 minutes more to get everything going. We have professor focus issues. When you are juggling all the AV yourself, it is hard to also maintain focus on presenting the course material. It's just a fact. The mind is splitting its cycles. And my most favorite Zoom issue is the share sound and optimize for video clip checkboxes that no one sees when they go to share their weekly progress report video. Why is the default not to automatically share sound? Why can't Zoom detect when a video is being shared? Mysteries for which there are no answers. Our live labs with TAs go as always, but again, some students might just decide to hang at home instead and be on Zoom, and that doesn't work well for evaluating team progress. Everyone ought to be there. On Zoom, our students all turn their cameras off, and they have conveniently signed up on Zoom with just their 2 initials instead of their name, so we never learn their names. So when we teach students game development in the Zoom forever era, there are challenges. All right, let's talk about Coursera. Before the pandemic, we had many companies creating what are known as MOOCs, massive open online courses. I'm going to pick on Coursera, as it is either the largest MOOC or one of the most successful, and it is just for illustration. And what I've discovered is that many of my students at USC have taken MOOC courses in preparation for courses at USC. One of the Coursera courses most often taken by my students is Andrew Ng's Machine Learning for Beginners class. Students that have taken that class perform the best in my Applied Machine Learning for Games class. They perform better than students that have taken the graduate course on machine learning at USC for the most part. So what is Coursera? Well, this is kind of a picture of what Coursera is. Pre-recorded video lectures, and let's talk about it. With Coursera, each lecture is pre-recorded, which means that there can be considerable quality control and perfect focus on the course material. So an outstanding teacher can record his or her lectures and not be bound by the machinations of also having to focus on getting Zoom working, which is a huge win. The downside is that the lecture on Coursera could be anyone, and the technical quality of the recorded video could vary, as they say. So recording quality could vary in terms of recorded image and recorded audio. Since the lectures are pre-recorded, they can be watched at any time asynchronously. Coursera has made its recorded lectures open and free to anyone who wishes to audit their courses. Class support leading to a class or specialization certificate is rightly behind a paywall. So homework and assignments, online quizzes, exams, and student forums are there for the paying student. So a MOOC like Coursera is one part of the future of education, I believe. One of the benefits of a commercial MOOC is that new courses can be built and put online quickly. New courses at a university like USC could easily take 1.5 years to be approved and put onto the teaching schedule, and there might not even be a single word changed on the syllabus in that 1.5 years. It just takes 1.5 years. So we could teach. We could go to professionally recorded master classes. Let's talk about that. Figure 3 shows us how we could teach. This is, of course, derived from MOOCs. We do professionally recorded master classes and find the best person in the world to teach that particular material. Instead of a random faculty member at your university teaching the class, we reach out to a superstar and pay them to record the lectures with a professional recording staff. Well-produced sound and perfect image are the result. The industry professional we have recorded the class gets paid for his or her time during the recording and a royalty stream as long as the recordings continue to be used in our online school. The recorded lectures can be used asynchronously or synchronously and protected from piracy. We kind of also get this idea from the masterclass series of videos, but frankly, most of the masterclass videos I have watched have been terribly produced and done without any focus on quality. An example is the Jodie Foster masterclass, where the game we have is to count how many times she says in any given sentence. We can make this high quality and highly scalable with the right performer. With respect to lab sessions, we can still have live paid TAs and maybe even TAs with more commercial experience. We can also review team projects fully online, as we did during the pandemic if we wish to reach out beyond our local area. We can also look at team weekly progress videos asynchronously with comments delivered in a dedicated Slack channel for each team. Honestly, with this architecture, we could create a global university with local studios for in-person project reviews almost anywhere. We might call this Global Artists Los Angeles, and then have Seoul and Dubai studios as well, or any other part of the world interested in creating a local game development industry. All right, this is a complicated picture. This is the Invisible School in Shanghai. I started this article to focus on how we could teach better with respect to game development, and then we are doing now in the Zoom Forever era. If we are successful, then we replace most of what happens currently in universities. Replacing universities or entire school systems is happening globally. One project that I know well is happening in China, and it's called the Invisible School. And this project was started by 3 PhD students that dropped out of UCLA and asked me to be the CTO of their startup. I said yes, and they told me they would come back to me in 6 months with the plan for that startup, and this brief coverage of that project is the current state of what they're working on. The three students went back to China, and when their visas required them to do so. The Invisible School has the tenant principle of no live lectures. Again, the idea that live lectures don't scale or bode well for the students in the parts of China not near large metropolitan areas. Now, the Invisible School is focusing on K through 12, but can easily be extended to university education. The top level of the Invisible School is a machine learning system for evaluating students to find out what they need to learn. We started by feeding the machine learning system a detailed survey of some 10,000 digital games built for educational purpose. We were trying to be able to make the recommendations from the machine learning system to the students as to what digital game the students should play to learn the next piece of knowledge. We added in digital educational artifacts for the holes not covered in games, and we are looking at producing professionally produced master classes into that mix as well. So the purpose of the machine learning system is to point the students to what they need next to learn. The end result will be deep learning understanding of every student's learning needs through the use of big data. The goal is to build an Apple store-like presence in China, with a store in every city and town in China. It's about 32,000 stores, by the way. There will be a Genius Bar-like studio where students can be teamed up to explore knowledge. Think of student cohort groups. There will be live tutors to help with the hard stuff. There will be role play and cohort teaching. We will teach the students how to teach each other. So this is kind of some of the illustrations that we have for this Invisible School project. This is of the Genius Bar Lake facility. There will be peer review systems in place to make sure everyone is learning. There will be a real-time update and education planning system for every student to manage the learning content they require and to manage the schedule on which they need to learn. In the third year of the project, China's education metaverse will be launched and integrated into the Invisible School. And if all goes well, meaning funding, development, deployment, in 8 years, the Invisible School will be the largest school system in China. This is a huge effort, and the initial funding has been obtained. We will see. This is an amazingly ambitious project. The most important thing to note is this is a proposed big change in how K-12 education is delivered in the most populous country in the world. If successful, this impact will be global. So we get back to this picture of how we teach now and how we could teach. We started by pointing out how we teach now and are trying to say that we feel it is less than optimal in terms of student learning. There's evidently also a huge teacher shortage, and I saw this article in the Washington Post in January of 2023, basically saying a teacher shortage so acute that students are expected to learn without one. So we're already there in some parts of the United States. And in China, the big issue is in some of the far-flung provinces, there are not teachers or not teachers qualified enough. Our students can learn in the old way, but people are now thinking about how it could be different and how the architecture of how we teach could be fixed if we can get past the big real estate question. My 6-year-old granddaughter looks at the world and asks questions like, how do you make donuts? And how do we change the oil in the truck? And how do I create animations in Procreate, which is an illustration tool on the iPad? And my son finds her the right YouTube video to learn the answer to her questions. She now can find things in her own as she can speak searches into her iPad, just like in The Diamond Age, written by Neil Stephenson, came out in 1995. So the architecture of education is changing and people are trying out all kinds of different things to educate themselves. And in the end, we will all be better off as the demand for knowledge pushes past the demand for an ever larger college campus. There are some references, the Neil Stephenson one, the Washington Post one. Oh, there it is. In rural Mississippi, the geometry teacher is a recording. The chemistry students often teach themselves. Rural and southern states face a crisis. All right, it's already happening. Acknowledgements. I started thinking about how we could replace all teachers with educational games about the time I gave a presentation at the Educational Testing Service in Boston in 2009 with an audience of some 500 teachers in presence. My talk at the time was, how can we replace all teachers with educational games? The teachers in the audience did not boo my presentation, and they said they expected to be replaced, which is what they told me. I met Brock Doubles at ETS, and he is one of the best analytical minds on thinking about the future of education. Liu Fengyuan is the CEO of the Invisible School Project, and the funding for that project comes from the Yalong Group in Shanghai. We bless everyone trying to create new learning architectures and the path they take there. Anyway, if you have any questions, send them to me by email or on WeChat. You all have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'll turn off the sharing and say, have a wonderful day. My name is Michael Zyda. We'll talk to you next time.